Rachel Reeves said the government would loosen planning restrictions to make sure it met its pledges.
Now, the new Foreign Secretary, David Lammy, has embarked on a Europe-wide tour of schmoozing various world leaders.
Ed Miliband's department will, with immediate effect, lift the ban on onshore wind farms in England.
What we're seeing in the early 21st century is the growth, socially, of an angry white crowd who seem to run to the type of characters any other generation would have happily categorized as baddies. Society itself now is so scary, we're running to these people as our prospective bad boy bully protectors.
All right.
Ba-ba-ba-da-bow! Ladies and gents, what is going on? How are we doing out there? It's another midweek solo show from yours truly. This is Aid Thompson and Other Disappointments. I'm your host, Aid Thompson. What's going on out there, guys? How are things? Have you settled down since the election results ejacked across your screen? Have the hangovers now wilted? And the endorphins settled? If so, then good. Good stuff. Join us now. Join me now. Once more, as we take the good news out there. And once again, wrap our all-engulfing quilt of darkness around it. Because it's been a weird few days, hasn't it? For me and for you, perhaps, and other, quote, lefties out there. It's been kind of strange, hasn't it? Because obviously, you know, for the last few years, we've spent much of our time, much of our lives, railing against the Tories. And now Labour are in power. It's a little bit like, oh. All right, okay. This is new. It's like, well, what do we talk about now, right? What can we rant and roast and ridicule now? Now that the architects of our misery, misfortune and melancholia are so comfortably out of office. And the answer to that, of course, dear readers, you know, what do you moan about? What do you rant about? The answer to that puzzle is that we remain voices in opposition and we begin our Get the Tories In campaign. No, not really. Of course not. No, the answer to that, firstly, is that we take a moment, don't we, to absorb how bizarre it is to see politicians in office now who are actually doing some things. Right? They're actually doing things. I mean, just take the last few days, okay? The last few days since they won the election. What have we seen already from Keir Starmer's front bench? What have they achieved already in the first few days? In only the first few days, we have had Rachel Reeves tearing up the housing restrictions to actually try to address the housing crisis, which itself is the genesis, the foundations of so many other crises. The teaching recruitment crisis, the hospitality recruitment crisis. So much of it starts with the housing crisis. So we've had Rachel Reeves trying to at least address that by ripping up the red tape. You would think that the deregulation fans on the right would be all about this, but apparently they're finding fault. So we've had Rachel Reeves addressing the housing crisis. We've had David Lammy being a grown-up. Who remembers grown-ups in government? Anyone? David Lammy being a grown-up in government and at least broaching the the subject of warming relations with the European Union. There's been a commitment to get Windrush victims sorted, and the victims of the contaminated blood scandal. There's been pay talks with junior doctors straight out the gate. Well, let's just sort that out. The Rwanda plan? We haven't even talked about the Rwanda plan. The Rwanda plan is in the fucking toilet. I mean, doesn't it just show, guys? Doesn't it just show you how quickly things can move? How efficiently the state can operate when you actually have a group of people who actually give a shit? You know? It doesn't have to be that sluggish and slow and ineffective. Like when you're not being pulled over this way by donors and secret breakfast clubs and the whip's office. Just look at what can be achieved when the ministers themselves aren't mere custodians of the Tory contracts printing corruption machine. It's amazing when they're not hindered. It's incredible what they can achieve when they're not hampered, hindered, or handicapped by this sociopathic desire to fuck everyone else over and line your pockets or appease the whip's office. You can do anything when you don't have that handicap, those cognitive challenges. It's like, hi, could you be our Chancellor and help repair the housing centre? Could you help people to better themselves, improve social mobility, improve the housing? Could you help us as Chancellor to help people buy a... Do you know what? I'd love to, but unfortunately I've got this medical pink slip here from my GP. It says I'm a narcissistic sociopath. So that is not a role that I could actually flourish and succeed in, I'm afraid. Oh, that is too bad. Yeah, I know. So it's a handicap. And now that we have this lot in, now it just seems amazing when people just go to work and do their jobs. Because when you consider how many politicians are just motivated by greed, or maybe to a lesser extent, fame. You know, they like being behind the podium, they like being on the TV, all of that. When you consider how many of them are like that, I mean, if you are one of the very few who are not, and who, get this, right? This will blow your fucking mind, right? If you are a public servant who is motivated solely by serving the public, oh my God! I mean, in terms of you actually being good at serving the public, at managing the public purse, improving people's lives. If you're not a narcissistic sociopath, you ostensibly have a superpower. It's incredible. You're amazing at this. And so now, that's sort of where we are, isn't it? We got this new Labour cabinet in. And within the first few days, we've got them looking like superheroes, in comparison to the last lot, who failed to achieve really anything over 14 years. It's barely been 14 hours, and this lot are like, yep, here's my cape. I mean, that is how you know, right, that we have fallen to Earth's crust levels of political standards, right? of standards in public life. That is how we know that expectations are at the bottom of the barrel. It's like, is that now being an MP, being a public servant who does just what they're supposed to do, they just show up for work and actually try to improve things without hurting or looting from people. Just that is enough to make us go, oh my God, this like bloody Superman. How is he doing this? How are they doing this? But yeah, obviously not everyone is happy about this, are they? If you cast a glance across the journo-political landscape, not everyone is impressed and delighted and, you know, cracking open their champagne bottles. And some people are actually really mad that, you know, I don't know, we might have a cleaner, cheaper energy source sometime in the next decade. That seems really upsetting to some people. Some people are really, really angry that Angela Rayner was dancing down a street and sort of happy. Angela Rayner was dancing down a street. That's disgusting. Like, these people are fucking damaged. I swear to God, they're mentally damaged. They're traumatized by something. Like, how can you look at Angela Rayner, right, having a laugh, dancing down the street with her little shorts, smiling, she's got her pins out. How can you look at this woman having a great time and allow that to anger you? Or if we go to like the clean energy thing, like the idea that your mum might not freeze to death in a couple of winters' time. How can you allow a happy Angela Rayner or like clean, affordable energy to anger? Oh, I just hate seeing women warm or happy. I just don't like it, Aid. Whoa, well, you might want to go and get that checked out. Yeah, just if women are happy or warm, that really sets me off. Well, what do you like? Cold and miserable. Well, you are in luck. Because this weather, fuck this weather. I've never seen so many cold and miserable women, or men, for that matter, in this quote-unquote summer. My entire life. But yeah, they don't want cleaner, cheaper energy. They hate that. And they really hate a happy Rayner. They also weirdly don't want peace in Gaza. That's another thing. Fuck peace. Oh, I'm against peace. Just give me war and fighting and geopolitical instability forever. Big fan of it. Big. Huge. They root for Putin. You know, it's just hate and anger and negativity always, isn't it? Like, I was thinking the other day, right? I was thinking how weird it is. Like, this period that we're living in, this era that we're living in, where such huge groups of people value being right or being seen to be right by the other inhabitants of their echo chamber, right? Or their need to be right. That outweighs their need to do right. You know, to do the right thing. You know? Like, people have joked with me before about the Remainer mind virus. Do you remember that? Do you remember those headlines in the Telegraph? And then over in the US, they talk about Trump derangement syndrome. That's where, you think the worst possible thing about Donald Trump in every single scenario. Like, you probably think he's going to be a dictator, don't you? Well, who would ever imagine that? You must be suffering from Trump derangement syndrome, they say. It's like the idea that this, this virus, this mind virus has taken root. Trump derangement syndrome, remain a mind virus. Similar sort of vibe. Well, this is kind of like that. It's a mindset where a lot of people out there, I think, need to be right or to feel like they are right about something, or that they could or might be right in the fullness of time, more than they will try to do the right thing. They need to be right more than they need to do right. Okay? You still with me? Okay, good. And I think where it comes from, right? I was sort of musing over this the other day, over a cup of coffee. I think where it comes from, psychologically, is I think that deep down, they fear or truly believe that the wrong thing is actually where we're headed, right? In their parliament, in their country, in the United States or whatever. And they actually can't handle being wrong about that more than they can handle being called a cunt online for a bit if they support it, if they champion whatever this thing is. So, like, I'll give you an example, right? With policies. This sort of person, right? They will agree that we need a national health service, right? They kind of accept that. Most of us do. It's largely seen as the closest thing the UK has to a national religion, right? The NHS. So they will accept that we need a national health service. And they know that they could do the right thing with that. Like, I don't know, vote for a party that's actually going to take care of the NHS. They could do that. That would be the right thing to do. But they also know the trajectory that we are on, or that we have been on, and that it's sort of collapsing already. They don't want to misplace their hope. Like, I'm sure it'll fix itself. Maybe I should rally the troops. Maybe I should help out. I could do a telethon. I could do a fun run. Maybe I could help out. So they don't want to do right and then be disappointed later and, feel foolish for having had that hope. So no, it's, better if I just fuck it off now ahead of time and call it, outdated and wasteful. And then when it does inevitably actually implode, when it collapses, perhaps due in part to my lack of support, well, then at least, then I can say, I was right. It was shit. It was wasteful. We never had a chance, etc., etc. You with me? Does this make sense? They need to be right more than they need to do right. Do the right thing. And it works for policies, Touched on that now. It works for broad political parties that these individuals might support. It works with actual individuals themselves. From Nigel Farage, obviously, to Andrew Tate, to Donald Trump. You name it. Any of those easily hateable, hugely problematic types of people, right? People follow and they retweet and they quote these people in conversation on their Facebook statuses. Not necessarily because they think that they're correct about everything, but because, they see Brexit got voted for, so that won, and, then it got implemented, and that happened, and then Andrew Tate got his visa rules relaxed, and he was sort of allowed to just go and roam free, and Trump looks like he's probably going to get away with everything and then get back into the White House. Like, the worst people continue to get away with shit. And gradually and glacially, things are getting shitter. And so again, this type of person, like, they don't want to feel foolish in the future, so they swap it for cynicism today. That is the trade. Foolish tomorrow for cynicism today. And so then they want that cynicism validated, don't they? Like, oh, at least I knew the NHS was shit. That we were all doomed. At least I amped up the monster, Trump or Farage or Boris Johnson. At least I amped them up like I was a mid-90s rap battle hype man, you know, over their shoulder. Yeah, this is my boy. Yeah, go on, Trump. I say go on, Trump. We win, you lose. Go on, Team Red, yeah. Because they'd rather be right than do the right thing, right? But as full on and bullish as these people sometimes are, right? With their blogs and their monologues. I mean, really, it's cowardice, isn't it? When you actually pick beneath the scab, see what's running underneath. Really, it comes down to cowardice. Because, like, all these people are is one of the bully's cowardly friends behind him. Yeah, that's my boy Donnie. I thought I done told you motherfuckers he gonna fly the Muslims right out of here. The right thing to do there would be, you know, to call out a Donald Trump, to call out a Nigel Farage. You know, in Farage's case, as a con man. Tate as a creep. As an alleged people trafficker. Trump as a, you know, found liable for rape convict. But they've got to be right, haven't they? And that's where they sense it's going. So they've got to align themselves with that person. And so in that scenario, where the cynicism predicts that these people, your Trumps, your Farages, your Tates, will indeed continue to win out, then to be proven right alongside those is just too tempting an opportunity to pass up. Like, honestly, like, for a big chunk of the population, I really don't know how you solve this problem. I really don't. Like, how do you de-radicalize them out of that reality? How do you do that? Where, you know, and I'm not even joking now, but like if a Brexity, half charismatic, like good communicator kind of guy sort of emerged now on the alt-right scene, like let's say they came up on, you know, on the YouTube feeds or TikTok or whatever. And if it was, you know, this is an AI generated image that we're looking at, but let's say it's somebody like this, right? You know, sort of half good looking guy, right? Little bit of charisma. Let's say he's got quite a commanding voice. Let's give him a name, shall we? This new alt-right thought leader that explodes onto the journo-political landscape. What would his name? It would be something, you know, powerful, rhythmic, like it would have rhythm when you say. It's like, it'd be like a Jordan Revell, right? Or something like that. Jordan Revell. That's got a nice ring to it, I think. That's totally the sort of name that this kind of individual would have. It'd be a sort of, you know, like a Ben Shapiro, youngish, better looking. Jordan Revell. Alt-right, free speech ultra, libertarian vulture. 3 nights a week, streaming on Rumble. You get the idea, right? The Jordan Revell Show. You already know the titles and the sort of subject matter that this individual is going to cover on every single show. The Jordan Revell Show. Right? Here's where we're at right now. huge chunks of the UK and the US, right? If this individual came up and if he said he was super pro Brexit and he thought Marine Le Pen had some good ideas and he thinks Andrew Tate and his brother are actually strong role model for real young men, right? And if he then came out and said rape is a naturally occurring thing, like, what? What did he just say? Right? Or maybe he would say something like, episode 2 will be like, intelligence isn't necessarily spread across all races equally. Right? Two horrible, disgusting things that they never need to be said or discussed or debated. They're just awful. But if this individual came up through the YouTube algorithms, through the TikTok reshares and reposts, like, honestly, as disgusting and debunked as the things are that I'm saying that he would say, I can guarantee you that a whole subset of people would probably run to defend this guy. This is Jordan Revell. And they would even support that individual purely on the basis that they think that's broadly where everything is going anyway. And here's the wild part, right? The people who support him would probably even include a few women and a few people of colour. Because standing up to do the right thing is infinitely harder than being right and being celebrated and retweeted and rewarded with those social media endorphins, isn't it? Cheering this new right-wing thought leader, Jordan Revell. I kind of like that guy. I like the cut of his jib. Talks a lot of sense. Been a long time since we had that in this country. Because he is who is annoying everyone now. He is the new mascot for the hard right and the professionally distasteful. You'd have... What would you have? You'd have STEM newspapers. Sun, Telegraph, Express, Mail. Journos, hacks would line up to tell us how we're all wetting our panties over it. Hand-wringing, clutching our pearls. Project fearing. Over this one guy who just dares to tell it how it is. Or they would... they would suggest that we were looking down our noses at the people he speaks for and to. They would complain, they would say how it's all free speech. And we're just trying to cancel him. Like, what's with the censorship? What is with the censorship, buddy? Last time I checked, we had a little something called the Second Amendment. Looks like you forgot, boy. And you'd have other thought leaders backing him up. Your Jordan Petersons, your InfoWars, your Joe Rogans. They'd be like, hey, if you love Brexit and Andrew Tate and Donald Trump, they came for Trump, And Russell Brand and sweet innocent Liz Truss. And now this Jordan Revell. Well, you got to stand with him. If you like Trump and Brexit and Liz Truss and the Tate brothers, you got to stand with Jordan. All right, before the deep state come for him as well, just like it came for Russell Brand. And then, they would absolutely amp up someone as disgusting as that with those exact views that I mentioned earlier, just because, sing it with me, they'd rather be right and be amplified and supported by an ecosystem of right-wingers. They'd rather be right and be proven right or be seen to be right rather than do right. God. That is where we are at, though, now, in Western liberal democracy. We all want to be right more than we want to do the right thing. And, some of you listening to this, you might be thinking, well, what is the right thing? What is What does that mean, to do the right thing? Well, in those situations, probably the right thing, the second that you start hearing one of your friends regurgitating some Tateisms, some Trumpisms, some slogans off the Brexit bus or whatever, is to turn around and slap him around the chops and say, hey, do you know what? You need to shut the fuck up with this nonsense. You need to read a book, Terry. And not the hashtag plandemic, hashtag no EU army comment section on your TikToks, you moron. Try reading a book, Terry. Do you remember books from school? Because all of this stuff that you keep clapping your gums about, it's pushing us to the limit, bruv. We liked you more when we knew you less, Terry. That's what doing the right thing sounds like. Sometimes being right is also being mean. I don't make the rules. We liked you more when we knew you less. So just clam it. We're all of us, your colleagues, your friends, your relatives, your girlfriend, all of us are reaching the end of our tether, Terry. I mean, honestly, we toyed with the idea of some sort of intervention. But then we concluded that if we all got together and we all shared stories, one after the other, in a row, about how annoying you'd been to all of us, we would probably end up radicalising each other and performing some sort of honour killing. You know, we played with the idea of just unplugging your internet, you know? Letting you calm down a bit. Sending you off to a Buddhist retreat. Let you soak up and take in some of their endless patience and just calm down, Terry. But then we figured that you're so annoying with all of this nonsense with your Trump, your Tate brothers, your Brexit. You could actually feasibly drive the Buddhist monks to break character. Yeah, that is how badly you need to shut the fuck up, Terry. That if you don't, even at a silent Buddhist retreat, you would turn pacifist monks who haven't uttered a word in decades into unforgiving murderers who just want 5 fucking minutes of peace and quiet. Terry, that is the kind of response that you need to give people when they come out with this bollocks. I'm not saying it's a nice thing to hear. I'm saying it's the right thing to say, guys. When they say about, Tate, Trump, or Farage, it's the right thing to do there. Like, you know, Terry, you know the right thing to do with all of these. So just stop. Please, just give yourself a day off. You've more than fucking earned it. Just stop with the endlessly predictable contrarianism bullshit, you hype man, bit part cunt. Guys, I'm going to have to go. I'm going to have to run out. It's a bit of a shorter episode. Normally I make these sort of 45 minutes to an hour. But it's getting really late. It took ages to put my daughter down earlier, and she, bless her, she's really cute, but she's also hard work. And you know when they're cute but also hard, it's really hard to discipline or to lay down the law when you're like, look, daddy has to go, gotta go and do my show, and I like to get out here at 7, 7:30 I start it rolling, and then there's a little bit of editing afterwards. But tonight she was like, stroke my back. I'm like, all right, okay, for a minute. Then she's like, pinch my feet. She's only 3, right? And I'm like, okay, all right, I'm pinching feet. Go to sleep now. Close your eyes. Okay. Eyes closed? Yeah, okay, cool. Then I'm tiptoeing out. She's like, I want milk. I'm like, oh my God. And you're trying so hard to not snap. Because if you snap, if you do look, will you shut the and go to sleep or I'll get cross. If you start wheeling that and then she starts having a full-blown tantrum, then you're not coming out here for the next 45 minutes. You're sat there just trying. I am the worst father and concurrently the best father when I'm trying to put my children down, desperate to get out here. I'm impatient. I'm like, okay, here's your milk. Okay, bye, I gotta go. Like that. And seconds later, I'm like, it's like my patience is really, really I'm trying to think what I would equate it to. You know, it's like holding a door open for somebody in London. You know? And if you don't walk through the door immediately when I hold it open for it, I'm like, well, go fuck yourself. Like, I'm happy to be nice for a millisecond. But do not fuck with me, is what I say to my 3-year-old. No, not really. Guys, I do need to go. Thank you so much to those of you who were able to come down to the Patreon drinks on Saturday. Had a great time chatting with Dickie Bow and with Diz Tract. What's up, Diz, if you're listening? Big shouts to all of the Patreons, actually. Where's my Patreon list? New Patreon intro. That's not right. Patreon list. Here we go. What's up, guys? Look at these beautiful bastards. So yeah, thanks for to those of you who made it down to the Patreon drinks, and thanks very much to those of you who were able to come to the election night party also the Thursday before that. If you're not on the Patreon yet, I encourage you to sign up ASAP. I will be doing another Patreon drinks. I'm not sure when it's going to be yet. I might do it in like 3 months' time, and I might try and marry it up with like Graham Hughes or Supertansky or someone, so that it's like everyone's Patreons together, and then it's like a really nice big party atmosphere or something. Because a lot of you guys who are good enough to support my show, you are sort of dispersed out internationally, in fact. Like some of you, most of you are UK based, obviously. But, the UK is a big place still. So it's, some of you are up like near Manchester, Scottish Isles, over in Ireland. It's, it's a big ask to get you to come down to London for like one night. So I just wonder if there's a way that we can do this that makes more sense and is more convenient for everyone, so they get the most out of it. So yeah, I'll try to organise that at some point in the next 2 or 3 months. But now I must go. Got to go and check on my other kid, make sure he's going to sleep like a good boy, and then I must also go to sleep like a good boy as I'm up at bastard o'clock tomorrow. Thanks once again for listening. I'll catch up with you all soon. Until next time, keep it Booge, keep it Bimfluencer, and we are out this motherfucker.